So where we're shaping up for the evening, mate.
I'm a bit underdone.
You too.
Oh, just a bit fluey.
Few folks will like that today. And let's modify this bit. As we do. Put on there, that on there. And that could cancel. I should have us up running and live.
Nice one.
Nice one indeed. All right.
7:30.
No, it's 7:29. Don't start until 7:30. You'll confuse somebody will miss something and then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Imagine getting in trouble with you or I.
You can't be having that.
No, just imagine. It'd be an outcry.
Yeah.
Now, Corey.
How's our audio? Our audio's all there. Everything's pretty good, I think.
I think we're all right there.
Yep. That big screen in our background.
All over it. Couple of fat kids on cupcakes. A few people starting to roll on in.
An image here. An image here that'll dull out that screen behind us.
Ah, right.
There's something we've done recently that was pretty. Look at that. Nice signs at a school we did today. See, doesn't that? See, all of a sudden when that big white light's not behind us.
It's not quite as there, glow in the dark. Absolutely. Found one you're happy with there or what?
Oh, I'm just having a bit of a look around. Could be.
Pardon me. Yeah, right. Well, you've just hit 7:30, good sir.
All right. I better stop mucking around with this. Get rid of that.
Yeah, come on. Life's serious, mate. Life's serious.
Well, what do we want an image of? A koala bear?
A koala bear? They're not bears. Say that the wrong Grooney will get very upset when you call them a koala bear and not a koala.
All right, we'll have a waterfall.
A waterfall? How cute.
Nice dark waterfall. Look at that.
That's lovely. Very artistic.
Oh, sound like a walrus.
You're not having much luck there. Old Dr. Google's not been very helpful for you.
Yeah, it's just my driving more than anything.
I think there's a fair possibility of that, but, you know, that's all right too.
Oh, it's a bit to do with the absolutely shite interweb that is provided to us plebs out here in the regions.
Come on. Well, yeah, the NBN, Malcolm Trumbull said it was going to be amazing.
Malcolm said lots of things.
But he still says a lot of things. Should have kept his trap shut.
Well, like I say, that's his dalliance.
Bit like Malcolm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, let's kick the game off, big fella.
Good to see you Thursday night.
Always a pleasure. Thursday night, Dean and Irv Spin Doctors. Yep. Welcome back. Thank you all for tuning in. It's always nice when you tune in the first minute or two. You can sort of see the numbers. Sort of, there's people who sit around looking forward to this.
No, it's like State of Origin, but better.
Far better.
My name's Anthony Irvine. I'm a councillor on Temora Shire Council, but the views I express here are mine and not those of Temora Shire Council.
I'm Dean McRae and I'm not on Shire Council, and my views have always been my own and they always will be, regardless of any participation in councils or non-councils or other political.
Speaking of State of Origin, though, anyone from Temora would have been pretty chuffed with last night's result, particularly when two Temora lads.
Two lads did well.
They did well.
They did very well.
They got the chockies.
Well, we were watching, the rider like sit there and watch, when they do the Guernseys as they come through as I said, mate, there's only one town there that got mentioned twice. One club got mentioned twice, and it was Temora. They do a pretty good job here of generating a few footballers.
Yeah, bloody oath. In both codes.
Both codes? What do you mean both codes? There's 25 codes.
There are, but I don't know. I can't recall an international, or I suppose they don't have it in the rugby union.
No, I don't know that we ever have had.
We've had
a couple of the young boys doing very well, Australian teams and things.
We've had Australian team members in the NRL, rugby league.
Did young Nick Bett and a couple of the other younger boys make the junior Australian teams?
Oh, really? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think they may have.
I don't follow that sort of stuff that closely, but and I don't know whether we've produced any really high-end foosball or soccer
I don't know. Chris Marsh came out of tomorrow. You might have heard of him.
I think he's still in tomorrow. So he did come out of tomorrow, but I think they sent him back.
Finest goalkeeper from Stock and Bingle.
Yes, I think they sent him back.
If you're watching, Chris, it was a perfect opportunity to have
come out of tomorrow, but I think the world sent him back.
So good evening, everybody. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Of course, it's Thursday night, so we're going to do our usual show. We're going to check out any spin in the local paper. We're going to talk about a few of the bits of spin BS that have come out of Planet Global at the moment. It's a bit interesting. My mate Donald's failed miserably as far as I'm concerned this week with his big beautiful budget that's basically blown all the benefits of Doge. So he's on my naughty list this week. He's going to have to do a few things if he plans on getting back on my cool list.
Well, I don't know. He's sort of posturing to do a bit of a Xi Jinping or a buddy Vladimir Putin, trying to sort of work out how he can get a third term.
Oh, look, you do see a bit of that sort of stuff, and there's always that fear process with it. But one of my big hopes for this whole Trump thing was I'm going to cut costs, I'm going to slash the budget, I'm going to cut wasteful spending. And so far, he sort of went in, had half a crack in certain areas, and then he went, "Oh, fuck, this is too hard." Which I can imagine that it'll be extremely hard, because I know I look at all of our budgets locally, state, and nationally here, and I go, "Yeah, look, I could do it. I reckon I could shave X amount of billions off tomorrow from the federal budget without too many concerns." But I also look at it and I go, there's a lot of stuff there that would be very, very hard to unwind.
It's only hard to unwind because people have become so accustomed to it. The middle class welfare, all those elements, and as far as Donald goes, everyone's a voter.
Oh, for sure.
So
that's true.
He doesn't want to alienate them. Speaking of that, Temora Shire Council had the pleasure again of voting themselves a pay rise for the
yes. So let's start on that one if you like.
Yeah, so,
councillors approved their own pay rise. You did get a mention in the article.
Yeah. And look, my point was simply this: in all the BS that comes out of the OLG and the rest of them, say that as a councillor, you're like the board of directors.
Sure.
And the council is the business. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, it's a little bit more personal than that. I said, if it is going to be a business, I've been in small business for 35 years.
Yep.
And I know that the small business owner gets paid last.
Yes.
So everyone else gets paid. If you want to have a holiday, you're going to have the money in the bank.
Yep.
So in order to pay yourself, you've got to have a profit.
Yep.
So if you, and I'll pull it out in a minute, I've got the figures with me. Temora Shire Council scheduled to book a loss of about 1.8 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the councillors can then book themselves a pay rise and actually put their hands out for their pay.
Well, yeah, we all know what I'm going to do here in a minute. I'm going to go a little bit ballistic on the whole thing because,
like, I understand the process, but it's purely no, we're just passengers on this boat, and we need to get paid because we're giving up our time and blah blah blah. Well, no. How about we focus? And I'm sure that 1 year without pay, Temora Shire Council's budget would return to surplus.
I reckon they get pretty efficient pretty quick.
I'm telling you, because this is some of the, and my actual words weren't printed word for word, but I said I'm happy to accept the recommendation, but would like it linked somehow to council's financial operation so that it was paid after council achieved a surplus and not before. Okay.
There you go. That's why I'm happy to sit here next to you and support you in this, because that's exactly how it should be.
New councillor Brenton Hawken, who's a teacher by trade in the public system, and not subject to the vagaries of having to actually make his own pay each week.
Yeah, yeah.
And-
He shows up and it's money's magically there in his bank account.
Well, they've got a budget, and he gets a job when they've got a budget.
Yeah.
And he agrees to be paid X amount per week with
Yeah.
certain conditions attached. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the undertaking. He agrees to have 12 weeks holidays a year or whatever it might be.
Yep, yep.
Blah, blah, blah. And sick leave provisions and all the rest of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a different thing to someone who's actually producing the income.
Yes, they've got to generate and be accountable for what they're producing.
So if I want to pick up my pay on Friday, I have to go to work Monday and make my pay for Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the difference. Whereas
there's a direct line of accountability between what you're producing and what you're receiving.
Yes.
And this all mentions
and
in there.
Mr. Hawkins,
and I don't know. I think I've spoken to the man once, so I don't know the guy.
There was an article on a 31-year-old deputy mayor of Belgium who had resigned because she had to take leave without pay from a full-time job to attend meetings, and the council took up most of her time but paid the least.
Well, boo, fucking.
Well,
who?
But this is why councils have traditionally been occupied by people
semi-retired.
No. People who are quasi-property developers or quasi-business interests or quasi-puppets for other quasi-property developers or business interests who don't need to get paid from council because they're getting paid.
Yes.
In other ways. They're getting paid. Don't you worry.
I do not worry in the slightest of these matters.
The biggest problems that occur at local government level is generally from the interaction between councillors and developers.
Yeah.
And the close arrangements and the somewhat unusual arrangements that crop up in this space. So more often than not, a lot of councillors have traditionally made sure that they get paid.
Yeah, I don't doubt that for 1 second.
Now,
but I'm also
Councillor Hawkins said, I don't think councillor fees go anywhere near covering the time it takes to be on council or the impact it has on one's business. Well, 100%.
Yeah, you're correct. But you know that when you put your hand up for fucking election,
well,
you go, I am giving up my time.
Yes.
Because I'm planning on going and being involved in this entity.
Like, this whole conversation is just so retarded when here we are, we're going to book a $1.8 million loss.
Which will get lumped into the ratepayers again.
Of course, but it's a $1.8 million loss.
Yeah.
So in a normal business, you can't sustain that.
Yes.
Okay, don't take your pay.
Yeah.
When you look at the councillors on Temora Shire Council, Rick Furman could do without a year of his council pay.
I reckon potentially, yes.
No, just looking at him. He's got no dependents. He's got a menswear store that seems to be self-sustaining. He's got a mummy and daddy who've done quite well in business for themselves over their lifetime.
Yeah.
He'll get by.
Yes.
He will get by. He doesn't look like he's missed a feed in a fair while. No, seriously. He's looking like he's in fine condition.
Yeah, fair enough.
Forward in his condition, and he'd go all right at the lamb sales.
Good power. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be a photo somewhere in the paper.
There is. There's one.
Not that that's even. I don't really care that much of that.
No, there is one of him, and he is looking in fine fettle. The opening of the footbridge at the lake.
And it was pointed out to me the other day that I look like I've been on a fine paddock recently.
Well, that's credit to yourself. That's just well done, son. You're getting a feed.
Apparently getting a feed, yes.
Yeah, so there's nothing to be ashamed about there.
I don't know. I'd like to lose a few kilos.
If you're carrying a bit of condition, that means
we've got to get back to fighting weight. I think
ready for the next.
The world's trucking.
Ready for the next downturn. Now, where did I see that? Oh gosh, I'm losing the plot here. There he is. Look, there he is, perched up there at the opening of the
Like $1 million. Was that a footbridge or something?
Yeah, opening the footbridges out.
Opening the footbridges. Fair enough. Very good.
Laid every stone himself, he told everyone, I think, on the day. No, that's only a joke. Don't take it serious. It's a joke.
Stay calm.
Stay calm. No code of conduct. It's a joke.
You're not allowed to do that, don't you? But look, here's the reality.
Okay, now back to that story. Right.
Here's
No,
here's the
I
bog
just
shot.
want to get on to. I just want to get onto the mayor's comments because this is the important part that I'm trying to make. Mayor Rick Furman said his initial reaction had been to show some restraint.
Then his second one was, fuck it, give me the cash.
Give me
Cash
the
me
water
up. Pay me, baby, pay me.
by not taking the 3% because the council would be having to make some very serious decisions in months to come about financial sustainability.
Yes. Oh.
However, I take on board the comments around the chamber. So, he thought about not taking the pay rise.
Oh, well, look.
He thought about it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That don't mean you've accepted it.
What are you going to do? I can vote against it.
Oh, yeah. Look, I'm not mad. I'm not.
I reckon, and I'll go out on a limb here, I reckon I'm one of the few earning it. In terms of saving council money.
I reckon there's a fair argument from what I've seen. But,
yeah. So if it came down to who's saving council money, let's put our cards on the table.
My base argument for it is simply this: I don't think it should be paid at all. I think that if you're going to put your hand up for what is effectively a role of service to the community, which is what it's supposed to be, you make that decision when you put your hand up to run as a councillor, and you say to the public, I'm committed, I'm dedicated to trying to do my bit to make the joint better.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so complex and so time consuming and so
they're succeeding.
They're trying to make it into a full-time job.
Of course they are.
Instead of just having a bunch of sensible locals come together every month and go, what's on the table today, kids? Okay, bang, bang, bang. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What do you reckon, Trevor? Yeah, I like that idea, Davo. Okay, let's do
that. Yeah.
Let's make some sensible decisions on behalf of our...
It's more of the big government feed where
it is, and this is exactly where the mayor falls.
Oh, look.
As much as he'll say, we've got to make some hard decisions, he won't save a cent.
No, of course not.
He
suckling on the teat of the taxpayer, ratepayer.
Suckling. That's what I wanted to get back to.
Overindulging on the back of people who are working their clackers off and struggling to pay mortgages and struggling to pay bills.
No, and on the one hand, he says that, okay, we've got to make some hard decisions about council's financial sustainability. Yet, last week, in the Unrepentant,
he's sending people around to take photos in people's windows to see who's fucking living where.
The Peeping Tom division, the Snowdroppers, seated his underwear on the clothesline.
Well,
Temora Shire Council is pleased to announce significant progress in the vacant homes project. What does that mean? We've created more vacant homes. Aimed at addressing the housing crisis affecting our community. Following the appointment of Kathy Swan as the Vacant Homes Project Officer, substantial strides have been made in identifying and understanding the reasons behind the high number of vacant homes in the Shire. What effing good is knowing which homes are empty and which homes are occupied?
The only good it is you get to go, as a council, we've decided we're going to stick our nose into somebody else's business.
That's right.
Once again. And we're going to go around and we're going to have poor old Kathy, is it?
Yes.
Kathy, I assume, on a significant sum of money off the ratepayer, is going to go around with a camera looking in people's windows. Hello. Oh, sorry, I didn't realise this place was occupied. I've been sent by the mayor to identify homes that are unoccupied.
I spoke to some people about this week, and they identified one premises, that a home that's owned by an individual who's left the area, but wants to preserve that home with views to moving back here in the future, and
if they can afford,
is reluctant to rent the thing out because they don't want it trashed.
Well, yeah, I've had experience in that space.
Yeah, so
I'd be fucked if I do that again.
And if you just want to pay your insurance and pay your rates, lock the door.
That's on you.
Pay a gardener to come around every fortnight and give the place a little.
That's what you want to do, yeah.
Well, happy days.
Absolutely. Your house, your bills, your problem.
Well,
nothing to do with the nosy gang, the peekaboo gang.
Anyway, here we are we've got to make some serious
We're going to make some
decisions about
serious
financial sustainability. But the week before,
we're sending out some poor lady to go and I don't know her again.
But I'm telling you,
but here's some poor lady who's apparently being tasked with taking photos in people's windows to see who in the blue hell is living there, and if they aren't, well, what are we going to do about it? We're not going to do anything about it. It's none of your fucking business.
Council is committed to finding solutions for the housing crisis and ensuring that our community can attract and retain essential workers. Council approach. This is the thing that shits me to effing tears. Essential workers. So a copper's essential, a nurse is essential, an ambulance driver's essential. The person who picks their bin up's not, or the person who cooks their egg and bacon roll in the morning's not.
No.
And the person who makes their frappuccino isn't.
We saw all this during COVID, right?
So here we are. No, this is just the next level of big government.
This is what it is.
If you're part of the government, you're going to get.
You're essential, and you'll be paid, and you'll be paid regardless.
And you'll get a house, and others won't.
Absolutely, you will.
So what are you going to do? We're going to have a whole.
The middle class is being obliterated, and what we've got is
there'll be a whole town dedicated to the SES, the RFS, the AMBOs.
So they're going to have. It's all it's going to.
The local, the state fireys. And what are they going to do? They're going to sit there and what?
No, that's
what are they going to do? They won't be able to eat because no one will cook them a feed because they're not essential.
They're not essential.
They won't be able to buy any clothes, so they'll be running around naked.
Oh no, there'll be a menswear shop.
Oh, well, that'd be classified essential.
That'd be very essential, locally, I imagine.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Like this idea of essential workers. Piss off.
It's essential to put food on your family's table.
In a community essentially needs a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker.
You would think so, yes.
A tailor, a cobbler.
You'd reckon.
You know what I mean?
But at the end of the day,
booking,
I do not care.
A vape seller.
Yeah. Like how are you going to put, at the end of the day, you got to put food on your family's table?
How
on earth keep a roof over your head? No, I don't give a rat's ass how you go about doing it.
How are you going to maintain a workforce if you haven't got vapes and chop tobacco freely available?
Well, it can't be free. It's for market. No, but you've got to be able to buy it.
Access to. But like that's a bit frivolous what I just said there. But seriously, this definition between government workers and private sector workers, and one being deemed essential workers.
Yeah.
Essential for fucking what?
Well, essential to keep big government ticking over.
Yes,
so they can
essential,
over the
essential to feed the algorithm.
Feed the beast.
The elbow rhythm.
Look, Australia's hit a point where we're in managed decline, right? We're just going to be
Australia's hit a point where we are going to be the government of Australia.
If we don't hit, look, we're going to hit.
And there'll be Trevor out there who's the only taxpayer left.
5 years, mate, we're going to hit hyperinflation. We're going to be just about rat shit. And that's where the country's at. We're going to look a lot like Venezuela. And for anybody who hasn't done their homework on Venezuela, we want to mimic less of Venezuela and more of Argentina at the moment would be my recommendation. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, do a little bit of study on both countries. Argentina more recently has been quite economic success story. And Venezuela was once realistically one of the top producing, most wealthy. It was a pretty good country. They had a
prosperous with a lot of potential.
Absolutely, and now
of upside.
And now it's a shithole with some of the worst hyperinflation we've ever seen. Wheelbarrows of cash might buy you a hamburger if you can be bothered to find wheelbarrows of cash. Yeah, well, that's where we're heading, and we're heading there fairly quickly. And unfortunately, the majority don't see it. They just sort of think, no, this is going to be okay. These lying dickheads of government will save us of all three levels. And they're not going to do that. They're not going to save you. They're going to just keep expanding until they explode. And when the explosion happens, the middle class, the lower class, the average class, we the people are going to be obliterated. We're going to cop it first. And then they will keep robbing and stealing whatever the hell's left. And it will just gradually turn into quite simply Chavez's Venezuela. And I'll be doing everything I can to make sure I'm all right and my little clan's all right. But my part for the rest of you is to try and wake you up to it all now. I guess that's my little contribution to trying to sort of share with you the likelihood of these things happening. And it's happening faster than imagined.
Oh, look,
Even I couldn't have seen it coming this quick.
It's unbelievable.
But it's all right because, the Labor Party's having an event in Temora in a few weeks.
Yeah, they are.
I saw
Hosted by...
I saw fundraising dinner with Chris Menz is coming.
Yes.
Is he going to be in here with? I know Michael McCormack's son. Is he still got a job? Didn't they sack him this week?
No, he's still got a job.
He's still got a job. He's still getting his $300,000 a year. He's going to be okay. But
He'll be okay.
He's no longer in a prime position. He and Barnaby upset some people, and now they're both on the back bench. Their feelings are hurt.
Oh, they're not out the gate.
No, not out the gate, but they've got even less say than they had previously.
Him and Barnaby, though, they're biding their time. They'll just have a couple of frothies, just at a couple of pills, and have a little sleep in the garden bed here and there, and they'll come back bigger and better than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Look, Barnaby's little exposés his little sessions he has in Canberra when he's down there, they pale in insignificance when compared to Gareth Ward's.
Gareth Ward?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the kitty fucking...
No, he's
the albino bloke that was done for child porn or whatever, or allegedly done for child porn or whatever.
He's facing some... He's in court at the moment over some unwanted sexual advances towards a number of different people. Poor old Gareth. But last year, he attended New South Wales State Parliament at 4:20 a.m. in the morning.
Right. Was
This
Brittany Higgins there?
No, this isn't allegedly. This is actual.
Yeah.
It's all on the record. He turned up. It's alleged he smelled of alcohol.
So shit-faced, yeah.
And it's not alleged that he was wearing a T-shirt, underpants, and socks.
That's fantastic.
Mm.
Good job,
Now,
Gareth.
Gareth's story was he was not gardening and that carrot happened. No. He heard a noise outside. So he got up and went to investigate, and the door shut behind him.
So he wandered to Parliament House.
Well, it's only a brisk 8-minute walk. His residence is only a brisk 8-minute walk from Parliament House. So he thought he'd set off in his underpants to Parliament House.
How is this one not landed on my desk yet?
Because he had
It's funny as fuck.
He's got a spare key at Parliament House, and of course they let him in.
And he'd have a spare set of clothes at Parliament House because they all keep spare suits in their offices and what have you. Yeah.
So anyway, Gareth, that's one of Gareth's little...
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard that one. That's right.
Oh,
I do get a lot of stories that come out of Canberra fairly regularly from fairly well-informed sources, but I'll tell you what.
No, that's pretty good.
That's pretty funny.
But Gareth's in court at the moment for some pretty heavy shit. Now, it's all allegedly.
Everything's all allegedly, of course, until fucking...
until proven otherwise. Yeah. So, but it's a big deal. This is a member of Parliament.
Yeah, and he got re-voted in after these allegations came out.
Yes.
So the people don't care. People seem to be far too comfortable with sexual assault, sexual harassment, kitty fiddling. Right? It's
Gareth Ward's in
under the country's on its ass.
So this is from The Guardian, reported yesterday. So
Guardian's always a fantastic
independent MP for Kiama has pleaded not guilty to sexually assaulting a 24-year-old in 2015, an 18-year-old in 2013.
They'd be the only adults that he's interfered with. I'm sure the rest wouldn't be that old, would they? Surely not.
Well, anyway, and there's other situations that he's had to, but he's got his hands full.
He's dodgy as a shit house rat, that bloke. I wouldn't trust him as far as I'd kick him with anything. And
he's got his hands full.
And I wouldn't be leaving him alone with any underage children for any lengthy period of time, let me tell you. Allegedly, of course.
I just don't know how a bloke of his standing could be running around the middle of Sydney at 4:20 a.m. in the morning in his underpants, and passing it off as anything other than a pretty big night on the on the squirt.
Oh, far out.
But, you know,
Well, they've got parliamentary privilege. These pricks can do whatever they want.
oh, they often do. Now, I'm bloody.
Now, what do you look like you're looking feverishly for something there, and
Oh, look, it was just to feed into. It was to feed into the mayor's statements around
oh, the fact that
serious.
the shore will be broke soon, and rates
No.
everyone's got rates are going to go up.
Well, that's what they're talking about.
That's what they're going to do. They don't have any other. They have no other skill set whatsoever. Tax spend, tax overspend. Oh shit, we've overspent. We better tax some more. It's the only fucking skill any of these politicians have, and it's essentially theft on a grand scale based on incompetence. That's what it is. There's no other argument for it. There's no if but maybe for it. You've got thieves who still manage to go broke because they can't spend the money that they're legally stealing from everybody. They can't spend it well. They're such donkeys, none of them can count, and they all want to throw money at the wall. It's piss and wind, and it pisses me off. And I'd like to see them all bankrupted just purely on the fact that they are parasites the entire fucking show. You included in that context, good sir.
Thank you.
No worries at all. I'll tell you what I did the other day. And I'm sure you.
Go on.
I'm sure you read it the other day. I
Oh.
thought it would be an interesting thing.
That's my whole position. And whenever anyone says, yes, go on.
I have wonderful conversations, as I'm sure you do, with a lot of people out there, right? Now, naturally, I would gravitate in the event that the Liberal Party did what it said on the Menzies original box. I would be supportive of the Liberal Party, and I wouldn't need to be anywhere near the political space because it would just do what's on the box, and I'd go, that's cool. I like that. I'm good with it. They don't. They're fucking hopeless, and corrupt, and broken, and destroyed. And you know, Dad always saw this vote Labor for the worker, and Nats and Libs are for, you know, people who have businesses and what. You know, that was sort of always the bit of a sell. They're better economic managers, whatever.
Back in the day, Labor used to represent the worker, and Liberal used to represent the business owners.
That used to be kind of how it worked, and that was sort of, it's turned into pretty broad strokes of bullshit now. And I have these wonderful people who talk to me about it and go, oh, look, there was a period of time where trying to recruit me into the Liberal Party was an actual thing. I mean, anybody who knows me really well knows what folly that would have been. Mm-hmm. But there was an active thing, and even in very, very recent times, I've had people make overtures from the space going, oh, look, if you got into this system, you could help us get rid of these wet blankets and fuck around them. Yeah, can't fix cancer from the inside. The joint's RS, and I have no desire to put myself through that. You know, but what I thought I would do, because I keep saying they're both as bad as each other. They're both rotten to the core. They both lie, cheat, steal. And they do it consistently. Right now, I haven't got hours and hours in my day to sit around fucking researching each particular thing, but I'm getting really good at this AI shit.
Yeah,
AI and I have become good mates. So what I did, and I thought what I'll do for you, the people, and you can see this on my Facebook page, is I put in so you put, if you have, for those of you who have never used the Chat GPT or the AI stuff, you basically go into this program, you give it some instructions, and it basically spits out a bunch of information at you. It's very, very clever, and so far so good. I do have nightmares that we're going to end up like Terminator 2 when the AI becomes self-aware. We're in a lot of trouble. But so I asked my little buddy, this is what I typed, using traditional media sources, because here's the other thing people say to me, I want it from a trusted media source. When I show them something that so-and-so has read, well, was it on the ABC? Was it on Sky News? Was it on, it doesn't matter. For the righties, it's got to be on Sky News approved. If it's the lefties, it's got to be on the ABC or somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So using traditional media sources and considering all major political parties and politicians and government-run and owned entities over the last 10 years, formulate me a list of proven lies and dishonesty, promoted, supported, and declared to the public. Give sources and evidence. Now, this was the response. I'm not going to read the entire list bit by bit. I'll just summarize the list. But AI comes back very polite. Dean, that's a very thoughtful and important question.
Yeah, I thought that was a classic.
This isn't me. I just cut it and pasted it
Yeah.
as is. No editing. Political accountability and media scrutiny are vital for a healthy democracy. However, compiling a comprehensive, all-encompassing list of every proven lie or act of dishonesty by all major Australian political parties, politicians, and government entities over the past decade is a vast undertaking. That's because there's so fucking much of it.
Absolutely.
One that would fill entire books and is the subject of ongoing journalistic and academic work. Instead, I can provide you a representative sample of well-documented cases from across the political spectrum with references to credible sources. Now, credibles are, that's fairly, I reckon it's fairly up in the air these days. But anyway, these examples are drawn from mainstream Australian media and official inquiries and focus on proven or publicly acknowledged cases of dishonesty or misleading conduct. The first one was the robo-debt scheme. Now, that was perpetrated by the coalition government. That's our mates in the LNP. So that was the first one that ChatGPT threw at me. Okay, and they used ABC as a source for that one, which was usually, polar opposites here. The Medi-Scare campaign by the Labor Party in 2016 was where the Labor Party were claiming that the coalition were going to privatise Medicare and sending text messages effectively saying that sort of thing, but they resembled Medicare communications. So it was pretty much just debunked and found to be misleading. That came from The Guardian. They've provided as a source. The Sports Rorted affair was done by the coalition government 2020. I think most of us have heard about that. But again, feel free to have a bit of a look.
Well, that was pork barreling.
Pork barrel at its finest. That guy was a fucking potato. But anyway, the Pink Bats scheme was the Labor government, 2009, 2010. The home insulation program resulted in deaths and house fires. The government was accused of misleading the public about the safety and oversight of the program. Now, that source was the Sydney Morning Herald. Tony Abbott's no cuts to the ABC or SBS 2013 from the coalition. He promised no cuts to the ABC before the election and then implemented funding cuts after winning government. Both of them should have their funding cut, but you don't need to lie about it, Tony. You just go, we're going to cut the funding from these useless parasites, and you probably wouldn't have got rolled on. There's a couple of other things she did as well. Julia Gillard's no carbon tax under a government she leads. That was 2010. And of course, 15 minutes after she got in, she rolled out a carbon pricing scheme. Not technically a tax, but we all know old Julia was just as full of shit as the rest. The Children Overboard affair was the John Howard government, 2001. The government claimed that asylum seekers were throwing children off their little, come into Australia boats illegally. It was proven false, that effectively they just made that shit up to try and sort of show what horrible people these poor buggers on the boats were.
Johnny, the Tampa thing, Johnny's hard on migrants, boat people.
Yeah.
Won in that election.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
it did, and that was part of it. Now, Johnny Howard, I'll say this: he is the last good leader the country has had as a politician. Last good prime minister. The rest of them have been in, out, up, down like honeymooners, nighties. They've been knifing each other left, right, and centre. Now, in saying that, he's a lying, little, gun-grabbing, communist prick. So I'm not saying I like him, but as far as leadership goes in the country, he was very good at it. He was a very, very good politician and probably the last actual good politician we've had. Now, I prefer my politicians to be a bit more like Harold Holt.
Yeah, but you can't even say he was probably the start of the Great Decline.
Oh, he was absolutely. After him, it went off a cliff.
Yeah, and I think he probably got the ball rolling pretty well.
Oh, absolutely, he did.
And actually sort of gave them a template as to how to.
He without a doubt did. I spent a lot of time actually studying him for a little while. The books, the docos, the details, whatever. He's absolutely. Look, he's a gun-grabbing little communist prick. There's a lot to like about some of the things that he did, and there's a lot to fucking detest about some of the things he did.
I believe that the hyperinflation in the housing market was
off his back for sure.
A lot of it seats back to him.
Yep. Oh, he planted the seeds for all this.
Yes.
Now, number 8 on this list, defence and security claims. Multiple governments. Example, exaggerated or misleading statements about boat arrivals, terrorism threats, or national security to justify policy changes, proven dishonesty. So that's where they want to get something through, so they'll scare the living bejesus out of everybody.
Oh, a bit like the weapons of mass destruction when we're off to
weapons of mass destruction, the caravan that was going to blow up all the what was it going to blow up all the what was it there a couple of weeks ago? I was a couple of months ago now. Well, they had the caravan full of bombs and whatever. Turns out it was all a great big fucking hoax, but they brought in a heap of anti-free speech laws to comment, to complement such activities. Now, government entities, Centrelink debt letters. What happened here? Centrelink sent out debt letters based on flawed data matching, causing distress and financial hardship, very much like the robo-debt scam, which it was an absolute scam. Scotty Morrison, secret ministerial appointments, 2021. Well, we've joked about that on many an occasion on this program. How he appointed himself the captain of every sporting team known to man, and from all reports, and I have actually worked quite closely with people who knew him and worked for him, and he's right up there in the dead shit stakes as well.
Oh,
New South Wales government Stronger Communities Fund.
Yeah,
that was the coalition.
That was Pork Barrelaro.
Grants were rolled out dishonestly to the wrong, all motivated by politics. The Queensland Labor Party, no asset sales, 2015. Labor campaigned on no asset sales and then allowed asset leasing. The Australian Greens, no deals with Labor or the Liberals. The Greens have sometimes claimed they won't do deals with major parties, but they do often, regularly, and all the time. And it was good to see Adam Bant lose his seat. I won't lie, that was one of the bright spots of the most recent election. So that was what ChatGPT rolled out for me with asking that question now.
Yes.
And it also, I guess,
and that's probably the most honest answer you could probably get if you asked any commentator either side of the fence.
Well, that's why I asked it the way I did.
Yeah.
Because I don't just want, because the Labor Party are only going to tell you about the ones that the Liberal Party did. The Liberal Party's only going to tell you the ones that the Labor Party did, because they're all off there.
It's like tag team.
Absolutely. Oh, did you see the affidavit and court testimony of the SAS guy who found Harold Holt in his house and took him swimming years ago?
Yeah.
No, I didn't, but it doesn't surprise me. But I would like to see all of our prime ministers and most of our politicians go swimming in Harold Holt style. I'm very, very pro that. It's my favourite type of swimming.
Look, the biggest issue is it's all about self-interest, and there's all of the mechanisms that the government's put in place to oversee any of the oversight bodies. They basically remove all their teeth and put blindfolds over them and put wax in their ears before they unleash them.
Of course.
The most recent one is the National NAC, the Anti-Corruption Commission at the national level.
Yep.
With Paul Brereton as the commissioner, and already he's ballsed it up.
Colour me shocked.
Yeah, already he's didn't recuse himself from a serious decision, and that was all to do with the robo-debt stuff.
Yeah.
Not one public servant's been held to account over it. So these people,
Richard Boyle's been held to a lot of account.
Well, as has the whistleblowers get in trouble.
Yes,
but the perpetrators don't.
No.
And that's the sad part. Anyone who believes that there's any oversight, anyone who believes that there's any consequence, is delusional. It's a facade. It's a very thin veil that they've used to control the people for so long. But it's got to be lifted.
Well, we try to lift it. The problem is it's very, very hard to lift it. It's also very easy to become compromised. It doesn't take very much.
Well, this is the whole thing. When you look into Diddy and operations like that, they're not about having a good time. They're about having powerful people
Controlled, manipulated,
get themselves
and
into
leverage.
compromising positions
Yeah.
so that in the future you can control these powerful people.
You come in and you go, look, here's this. We've got you doing this or being at this party or involved with these people.
Yeah.
So you need to shut up and do as you're told. It's just purely bribery and extortion, and most of them haven't got the kahunas to say, fuck off.
Oh,
Simples.
even to the point most of them will, despite their outward projecting persona, behind closed doors, will do some pretty
wild shit.
Yeah,
of course.
And put themselves in compromising positions. This isn't new. This has been going on
for human history.
Adam was a boy, and there's multiple stories of people, characters like Abe Saffron, when they ran the cross, who would get powerful people in Sydney Council or the local police or other government authorities, and he ran clubs with attractive women. He would ply them with alcohol. He would show them a good time. They would become relaxed and comfortable. Eventually, at some point during the evening, they might toddle off upstairs for some recreation.
Toddle off, you reckon?
For some recreation. And of course, that'd be fantastic, and they'd be only so thankful for the great time that they enjoyed until
there's an envelope sitting on a table though with more than enough information there.
Yeah.
To
and that's the way that stuff is generally done.
Of course.
So the only thing you can hope for, and this is the conversation about most of the politicians, the majority of them probably aren't fit to hold office.
No, but then again, office, and this is where we always come to the same sort of thing, is people say, or the argument I get is, we've got to have a government because have you seen people? They're just out of control. They're all over the shop. And then you go, well, what animal do you think's running fucking Parliament? People, and they're just as corrupt, just as broken, just as flawed. And
but what's the
only variable with the flawed ones in Parliament, which is why I hold them as harshly as accountable as I do, is because one, they try to rule over us. Two, they extort us to pay for their living. And three, bunch of pricks, generally speaking. Four, well, it's not even four. The alternative to that is, yes, we don't have any of them at all, and we just work shit out. And that would be flawed too. There would be pros and cons to that situation. But anybody who puts any of these politicians, bureaucrats, any of these people on a pedestal in any way, shape, or form, is obviously somebody who thinks that the stripper likes them and the drug dealer fucking gives them drugs for money because they like them and that they're good friends.
No, it's just purely that oversight isn't contingent with the risks, and
can't be,
and they know that.
Of course, and it never will be. The balance will never be there.
No, because the people who the oversight is applying to are putting the oversight in place. And they always make it flawed and
skewed in a way where they think the odds are best in their favour because
they don't get in trouble.
When they're done doing that one goat, they no, that didn't happen. Gareth Wood with his fucking undies down or whatever. There's a million blokes that run around in their undies fucking pissed and disordered and whatever. He's going to make up some bullshit story about it while sneaking into Parliament House.
Yeah.
I just don't have a clue to Parliament House.
But like I say, it's just the reality people have to actually lift their eyes up and work out who they're being governed by and the lack of oversight of those individuals. The amount of stuff that I've seen and the amount of wrongdoing that I've witnessed and the absolute absence of any consequence for these individuals is unbelievable. And then you balance that when they've got the whip hand and the funds, they can then bring the machine and focus the machine on you.
Onto those dissenting,
And it's the same thing as we've seen with your Richard Boyles or your David McBrides I consider myself in that category, but not to the notoriety of those guys. But
Yeah.
but I know that.
You've called out the machine, and the machine has come looking to spank you pretty hard.
But even to the point where it starts off where they do something bad to an individual, that individual jacks up and says, "You can't do that to me," and rah, 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 and rah, rah. All of a sudden, the machine kicks into gear and they attack that person's reputation. They fabricate all of these lies. They try to destroy so much. And all of a sudden, they're the victim.
Oh, of course, their feelings are.
They've done the initial wrongdoing, but all of a sudden, they're the victim.
And they've got the machine to back them up.
Oh, and they've got this. This is the delusion that there's some oversight.
Yeah.
The delusion, look, that's what causes people just don't understand how little oversight there is. There's
And the reality is nobody is worthy of overseeing. Nobody is that pure. Nobody is that innocent. Nobody is that incorruptible.
No, but surely when you sit around with a group of your peers and the actions are measured and it's obvious what's occurred, then surely there must be some penalty or redress or...
Oh, look, they probably do have a certain amount of penalties and redress, but it would be behind closed doors.
No,
and
it's never... like Scott Morrison acted like he's Dan Andrews. Well, Johnny Howard. No, these people are sending mother sons to war.
Yep.
On a false pretext.
Yeah.
And they don't face any consequence for that.
Nope. Oh, somebody might call them an asshole down at the pub.
Well, that doesn't worry them.
What? You mean that 5 blokes down at the pub? You know, a bunch of cunts.
Yeah, that doesn't worry.
Yeah. No, it doesn't worry them at the slightest, and they keep doing it. They get their government pensions, they get their extra cash, and they continue on their merry little way.
I'm going to find that info. When I find it, I'll put it aside because I just can't. The information I'm looking for goes back to that pay rise thing.
Yeah.
And it's about a special rate variation that they're trying to develop, and it's coming down the pipe. And it's the evidence of it. So here we are. Councillors are voting themselves a pay rise. We've just implemented a program that's going to cost the ratepayers X amount of money that really doesn't bring any value to the majority of the ratepayers in town.
No, none whatsoever. Oh, other than the entertainment value of you and I talking about it, which I suppose maybe they can put that in their budget. Does that count?
It's just bullshit. Even this front page story. Row over hospital heritage.
You either want a new hospital or you don't, as far as I can tell.
There's a small but vocal and obviously connected group of people who've decided that a chunk of the old hospital needs to stay. And that's it.
What's the article say?
Well, site preparation for the proposed new Temora Hospital has unearthed a disagreement between the government's architects and the council's Temora Heritage Committee over preservation of a small section of the old hospital. The Heritage Committee has agreed that most of the old hospital should be demolished. Oh, that's nice of them. Are they the project managers? But has argued strongly that one room with a semicircular white wall, steel windows, a flat roof and ocean liner handrails be kept, restored and reinstated. Look, I'm really sorry, kids, but this is another one of those situations where we've got X amount of money. We're building a new hospital to be a hospital.
Yeah.
We're not going to spend some of that potential money keeping a part of the old hospital, with all of the problems that'll bring. I've been on a working group, the arts working group.
Right.
Now, unlike many...
I am listening. I'm just playing with our technology here.
Unlike many...
Just for when we have to do it at local council.
I do believe that art has a role to play in the human experience, and I do believe that art enhances our lives.
Fair enough.
People who will argue that will then go and buy shoes that look like this, or clothing that looks like that, or a phone design like that. You know what I mean? So whilst they say I've got nothing to do with art, it's all part of
Yeah. There's
a
plenty of
subliminal
interpretive stuff
experience.
that goes on. Yeah, for sure. I just don't think any of it should be taxpayer funded.
Well, this is a taxpayer funded hospital.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some percentage of that budget allocated to paintings and decorations and treatments in that space that have got an artistic element to it, other than being Spartan and purely utilitarian. So
we're wasting X amount of money on.
There's an element of that, but
on
we could build it out of stainless steel and grey concrete.
If that's the cheapest, that's what we should be doing.
No, probably not, because it would probably be a terrible place to exist. And if you had to work there,
well, you wouldn't want to be there for too long. That's the idea. Would be to get well and get out quick as possible.
Okay, so but if you happen to actually be a worker there, then you're in the gulag.
Well, that's the job. You don't get
at the gulag.
It's just the job.
No.
Yeah,
no.
If you want to go in there and put a photo up, that's fine.
Yeah.
You do it. And if your dough or you get people want to donate it or whatever, that's fine. The ratepayers don't need to pay that shit. Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway, I think we're probably progressed enough as a society to be able to build a functional building that's still got some.
Well, I mentioned managed decline earlier, right? That's. I don't think we're going to be there for much longer. So, I think they've still got save their pennies.
Some amenity that's still a nice place to be, and that's where we come in. Now, one of the most telling comments regarding any of the heritage artifacts that exist in the old hospital is that the project managers are strongly encouraging that they be transferred to the local Bundawarra Centre, which is the
museum.
It's the local museum.
Yeah.
And their comments have been, because we're not going to curate an exhibition in this space. It's not a museum. It's a hospital.
Yeah.
If there's artifacts here from the previous iteration of the hospital that you wish to have preserved, transfer them to the museum and we'll help out with that.
Sure.
And we'll reference the old hospital and we'll do some homage to it, and there'll be places within the new building that references its history,
right,
and it references the story in the community.
Yeah,
but they're not going to build a museum in a hospital.
No, I wouldn't have thought that was part of it. No,
and I'm pretty happy with that outcome as a taxpayer.
Yeah,
and someone who probably wants to turn up. If I'm sick, I want to turn up to a hospital and get hospital-y services.
I want to
and if I want to go to a museum, I want to go and get museum-y services.
Yes.
I don't want it to mix up too much.
No, I don't want it to mix up at all. If there's something wrong with me to the point that I'm in a hospital, I want to walk in, you guys fix what you got to fix, and I want to go home.
Yeah.
I have no interest in being here for any
if you have to be
period of time.
If you have to be there for any significant period of time, it would be nice to be able to look out a window and see the outdoor environment, or have the thing, painted up to some sort of soothing colours, or at least
soothing colours.
Yeah, at least have some sort of, if you're going to be in a place for 24 hours a day, there's ways that it can be a comfortable place. A nice.
If they're going to paint the wall anyway, it might as well be a soothing colour.
Absolutely, what I mean. Look. And if you're going to put a window in, you might as well put a window that's got a nice aspect.
A view of outside.
A view, not of a concrete wall. A view. So, there's a lot of things that people can do these days that don't cost considerably more money or much extra in the scheme of things, but it's a clever way to build it, and it's a much nicer space to be.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so that's where I'm at.
Fair enough.
This is a bit of a beat up, and one of the main proponents that are discussed in this article, in the Temora Independent of Thursday's edition this week, is David Scobie, who's been the Heritage Advisor for Temora Shire Council for about 20 years, and maybe a little bit more. But for anyone who's interested, David's last Heritage Committee visit will be next week. And then David is going to take his heritaging paraphernalia and become a heritage item himself.
Bye, see ya. Fair enough.
See ya, don't let the door hit you in the arse like that. No. Anyway, buys he buy.
Yeah, right. Oh, there you go.
So I don't know how this campaign's going to continue.
Oh, I imagine you've just heard the most of it, and the long and the short of it. I can't imagine it's going to be too dramatic after that. They're not going to be picketing or anything, are they?
I don't know that they're that motivated, but the interesting part, yeah. So next week on the 4th is the last Heritage Committee meeting that Mrs. Scobie will attend. Now, when it's all said and done, if Temora Shire Council or the Heritage Committee were to commit some funds for the preservation of this thing, maybe Health might consider it. But I'm pretty sure their budget's been committed to building a hospital.
Well, I would imagine that's what it's all about, yes.
So that's where that's at. So that's a bit of a beat up. That was one of our, from Cub reporter Tom Gosling.
Tom, big
now,
Tom.
I'm a bit concerned. I think Tom might be getting some pin feathers.
Oh, look, how's it worded, though? Is it worded like bullshit and nonsense, or is it worded like, okay, this is what's happened?
Well, it just seems to be a beat up.
It's unearthed a disagreement. Okay, well, I mean, you've got to have something to write about, I guess.
Well, it's not a disagreement. It's a couple of people in the Heritage Committee have got to be in their bonnet.
Yes.
There's no endorsement of this by Temora Shire Council per se.
What's Temora Shire? Oh,
well, the Heritage Committee is a Section 355 Committee of Council.
Yeah.
If the Heritage Committee wants to bring something to Council and Council takes it up on their behalf, then there might be an issue.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, it's just something that the Heritage... And I haven't seen a motion at the Heritage Committee that this is of any great significance.
So a couple of nanas, perhaps, and could be nanas, could be old.
Yeah,
pops,
it hasn't been...
Somebody has stomped their foot a little bit and gone, I like this.
Yeah, I want it. I want it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Look, it may be new, so it doesn't look like there's a lot of pages in that paper today. There's
well, if you take out
all the middle section of Coolman Times and everything else.
If we take out the TV guide,
TV guide, the crossword,
and then she gets pretty light pretty quick. Yeah, look, Tom's really clutching at that one, but it's
I mean, it does need to come up with something to put in there, I'm sure. They're all these
But we all know that what he comes up with is fed to him.
Of course.
Force fed.
Yeah.
It's like goose liver pate. You know how they force feed a goose to make...
Oh, I know, because it's phenomenal.
Well, he's a gosling.
I'm a big fan of...
He's a gosling, and he needs to be...
To the vegans and things that have been upset with me in the last week or two. I did upset a vegan this week, so tough titties. But I tell you what, foie gras is sensational. It's absolutely stunning, and I'd eat it all day, every day. It's amazing. And it's not nice to force feed a goose, I know. But you know what? Most of the public's force fed anyway, and it's just a different outcome. Doesn't taste as good.
Look.
Doesn't taste as good, man.
It's just fatty goose liver, isn't it?
It's extremely fatty. And it melts. You put it on your tongue and you just feel it melts. It's a bit like the real deal of Wagyu beef, like the top line, not the
back to the metaphor here. We've got a young gosling here that appears to be being force-fed some material.
He's starting to drift. But that's okay.
Well,
look,
I just think he's starting to lose his gosling downy feathers.
And
I think he's starting to get some pin feathers.
Well, look,
and I think he's transitioning, and I'm a bit concerned that he may grow into a goose.
It could happen. Transitioning is very popular these days, but I suppose that you do need to have something to put in your newspaper. The Red Shield appeal beat a target. Well, that's always nice. Rained. That's pretty good for out here. That is
not
actually
bad in the
that is actually pragmatic news out here. We haven't had enough rain, but up there near Taree, they've had a little bit too much.
For anyone out there who didn't notice it rained, okay, we put it in the paper.
It's in the paper. Yes, we've had rain.
Red Shield appeal. New BP outlet to open soon. Well, that'd be nice because it's been on the go for about
40 years,
11 years. But anyway, we won't rush into it.
No, it's a bit like overpasses and things like that, bypasses. It takes time, these things.
The Ex-Services Club are going to commence a $2.5 million upgrade.
What are they upgrading?
Renovations to the main bar area. They reckon they're going to hook in. They reckon it could be completed as early as October.
Yeah, right.
So they must be ready to go.
I assume it's their money they're spending, so fair play, good luck.
Well, they're into it. This footbridge, goodness gracious, it caused some trouble.
It caused trouble, didn't it?
Mm.
How does a bridge cause trouble?
Well,
They're inanimate objects. They can't be causing trouble.
it caused a lot of consternation at council because it was a bit of a double-edged sword because council officers needed the lake level to drop so that they could complete the works because there was some foundational work and that had to be done to allow these bridges to be placed.
Right.
And of course, we've been the beneficiaries of these
These
fantastic, prosperous, high rainfall years for about the last 4 to 5 years. And the lake level hasn't dropped to a point where they could actually access it without.
Oh, so that's been the hold up.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I thought they were just mimicking the other bridge out near Wollongbean.
Yeah, no, believe it or not.
I thought it might have been just going out in sympathy for the Wollongbean bridge.
Taking the heat off Steph.
Yeah.
No, well, Steph was here opening these ones, so at least she gets to open a bridge
Just
every now and
open
then.
a bridge every now and then. Good on you, Steph. You're right, mate.
That'll be practice for when they open the one at Wollongbean.
Yeah.
Just to keep a hand in.
I don't mind Steph. Steph's all right. Steph's pretty good.
Anyway, the weather cooperated. It got a bit dry and tight there for a few months, and they spat a bit out the back, and they used a bit for the roadworks.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it dropped to the point where they could get the job finished, and it's all, for in all intents and purposes, it's done and dusted. And that's nice.
That's lovely.
There was a risk that council. The worst part was the only thing that allowed that job to go ahead was the fact that it was grant funded.
Right.
And there was some talk that they were going to pull the funding because the job hadn't been done. It was like, come on, boys, we're out in the bush here. It's raining, everyone's doing good.
Yeah.
Don't scare the rain away.
Yeah.
Can we just put the money here and we'll do it as soon as we can?
As soon as it's pragmatic.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
There you go.
But people over the hills don't understand that.
They don't understand a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They don't understand a lot of stuff.
That's probably the biggest issue that I find with people in the country. They walk around and they're so confused as to why they're getting a pineappling by the man, the system. And the people from Grangler, where Albo's electorate is, don't understand the plight of the country people.
They don't understand the plight of anything.
No, but
they're very oppressed in there. You've got to understand.
The issue,
they're a very tough life.
The issue, of course, is this. In rough figures, 87% of Australia's population live within 50k of the coast.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about that. That means 13% occupy
everything else.
Everywhere else. How thinly is that 13% spread over the interior? Because Australia, it's a vast interior.
Yep.
And once you get past places like Griffith and Hay, people get pretty scarce.
There's not many of them out there, that's right.
You're getting into the outbacks. But even in these areas, we're very sparsely populated, and you can tell. Even the internet here is just atrocious at the moment. The internet at my workshop's atrocious. The internet
in the you drive 5 minutes out of tomorrow and you can't get the bloody onto the phone.
Yes.
Apparently we can put a man on the moon, allegedly.
Yeah, but here we are in this world pushing everyone into these.
Katy Perry's a fucking astronaut.
Yeah. Yes.
But we can't get phone service 5 minutes out of town.
That's what I mean. It's so retarded, but we have to make alternative arrangements because no one gives a shit.
No,
this is the thing, people. No one cares.
Nope.
Don't think that you matter because you're 13% spread over millions of square kilometres. Albo don't care.
Nope. Not enough voters out here to make a dent on any of them.
Don't even register.
Nope.
So we can stamp our little footsies and get all head up. It doesn't mean shit.
No, what it does mean though is when the collapse happens. If there's enough of us that are a little bit sensible, we'll have a little bit stockpile. We'll be in not a bad position to kind of last that little bit longer. We could arguably be a little bit. I don't hold out any hope for that either. I've seen I don't hold out a lot of hope for it, but I know that there's enough people out this way that arguably, there'd be a few sheep available if we needed to eat. A few people know how to grow a few things, a few practical skills. When this Venezuelan-like collapse happens in the cities,
I don't even think
as soon as Woolworths is empty, they're buggered.
We're being herded onto these little tiny plots where you can't even grow a spring onion.
Yeah,
like they're so tiny, you can't exist. We're being
don't die alive on air, mate.
I've been a bit crook. We're being disconnected from our food sources. There was Dr. John Campbell had a pretty interesting video out this week, and it dealt with the health of young people in the States.
Yep.
And he had, from the 1990s and earlier, right up till now, things like obesity, mental health, diabetes, cancer rates.
Yep.
They're all going like that.
Of course they are, because the food's not real food.
They're all going like that. The food's not real food because the parents can't grow food. The parents haven't got time to cook real food. The whole thing, the hamster is on the treadie 24/7. Hamster got no time to grow veggies or cook good food or read a book or.
Mate, I'm up at 4 every day, and by 4:15 I'm running late.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to someone about this the other day. Back in the 50s, that's how it was. Back in the 60s, that was how it was. In the 70s, it got a bit easier. In the 80s, it got a bit easier. In the 90s, it got a bit easier. In the early 2000s, it got really easy. Now it's trending back the other way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We're about to discover what hard times look like. I don't doubt it.
But I just don't think that a lot of the parents have experienced the hard times like their parents.
No, God, no.
And their kids are completely unprepared.
Yep.
You know, I read a really interesting story about a lady who emigrated from Italy in the 50s to Leeton. And she moved out onto a small farm on the outskirts of Leeton. It was really tough. One of the comments she made was, we were always cold. We only bought a couple of cotton dresses. That's all we had.
Yep.
They've moved to Leeton, and imagine being out at Leeton this time of year with a light cotton dress.
Yeah, yeah.
Eventually, her mother, over a couple of years, managed to knit cardigans and jumpers and stuff to keep everyone warm.
Yep.
She went to school in Australia for about a month, and then her mother fell ill. So she was the oldest daughter, so she had to return home and become the primary carer for the household.
Yeah, right.
So he was chief cook and bottle washer.
Yep.
Whilst mum was crook.
Yep.
Her recollections of those days aren't good. She said, I never enjoyed my time in Australia.
Yes.
It was tough and it was cold and I was hungry. You know, and it was hot and it was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? We've become so
soft
and complacent, and just, you only have to talk to people who are dying now about what it was like when they were kids.
Yeah.
And how tough it was for them. The best story, old guy I worked with doing hard physical work when I was a kid. I said to him, what'd you do for a job when you were a young fella?
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, cleared a block of land. I said, how'd you do that? Him and his brother. Yep. I said, how'd you do that? He said, with axes and Truella jacks. Now, Truella jacks are those big click jacks.
They're not being machete, they're illegal.
No, those, you know, the big old truck jacks where they've got a big ratchet system and a big toothed arm and a big long handle.
Yeah.
So they'd get an axe and they'd cut a notch in a big gum tree. They'd jam the Truella jack in and they'd start jacking.
Yeah, right.
And they'd lift the root of the tree up and they'd cut through the root with the axe and they'd work their way around these big gum trees, grubbing them out and digging them out and worrying them out of the ground, laying them over, and they'd light a fire and move on to the next one.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Now that'd be a fairly solid day's work.
I reckon it would.
The next day would be fairly similar, and the day after that'd be much the same.
I reckon come the weekend, if you got a weekend.
It wouldn't be a weekend.
If you got a weekend.
No, the week wouldn't end. Yeah. Every day would start. Right? Yeah. Every morning would be Monday morning.
Yeah.
I said, what'd you get paid? He said, half the first year's crop. And obviously, well, you don't get paid half the first year's crop before the block's cleared.
No.
What'd you live on?
Yeah.
Charity and rabbits.
Yeah, righto.
Some other people that were a pioneering family out at Ganmain Way. One of the guys who was a kid at the time, who's now an elderly gent, said that Mum used to load up the buckboard type sulky, and truss up 3 or 4 turkeys and whatever else she could round up, eggs and everything else, and head from the other side, like 25 k's the other side of Coolaman, with a sulky all the way to Wagga, and she'd leave at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. Make her way on these rough bush tracks all the way to Wagga and transact business and bring back sugar and tea and
supplies,
the stuff that they needed to
continue to exist.
And could convert the protein into something palatable, flour. And barter, like constantly bartering with these things, never taking cash. And get home at midnight.
Doesn't surprise me, not one bit.
But that's only 80 years ago. 70 years ago.
And I reckon it's about 5 to 10 years away.
Well, that's the thing that I'm concerned about, is just how good we've got it, but just how easily or how complacent people are, and this expectation that it'll just be good times all the time. You've got to fight for your right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got to be cognizant of the rights that are being stripped away from you, the freedoms that are being stripped away from you. I still believe that we live in a wonderful country, and I still believe that if you can carve out your own piece of the jungle, sans machete, it's going to be hard to carve out your own piece of the jungle without a machete.
I don't understand. They want these multicultural societies. There's people sharing their culture with us.
They have a lot of that culture.
All of a sudden now we've got to ban machetes. It's just disgraceful. I think it's got to be racism of some sort.
It would be.
If we're banning machetes over that, I mean, that's outrageous.
Yeah. So that's the problem that I see. And I just think, like, I spend a lot of my day running a business independently to preserve my own self-direction and not to be beholden to or subservient to a master that will may or may not.
Well, that's a big part of the challenge with all this stuff. Is
a lot of people are just so happy to be drawn in by these big corporates and covered under the wing and cuddled by these big corporates and enslaved.
They were owned,
captured.
And I've actually been working on a few little guidebooks.
You're right.
I've been busy.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a writer's backside. I would not profess to be. I have friends who are legitimate authors, right, who write books and write things. But I've been putting together some notes, we'll call them, for some of these ideas, obviously, that I've had over the years and sort of harnessed and learned, and kind of going, okay, how would you tackle that? And what's the best way to kind of go about that? And when this thing does shit hit the fan, where are you going to be? What are you going to be looking at? What's going to be placed, and how's it all going to be going? And it's good for my thought process. I'm more doing it for my own thought process than anything else. It's breaking it down, going, okay, what are the thoughts you need to have? What are the actions you need to take? What are some of the things to consider when things start going poorly? And what have you got in your arsenal that perhaps can make you more valuable to a neighbour, or vice versa? And there's a lot of things there to look at, because obviously nobody's got I haven't got a crystal ball on exactly how this collapse is going to happen, but I think it's generally accepted now in most good authoritative circles that Britain, Canada, and Australia in particular are all under a system of managed decline. It's only a matter of it's only a matter of when everybody wakes up to the fact that it's hit, and it's going to be too late by the time it gets there for the majority to recover. They're just going to lose everything because they don't see it coming in any way.
We're already losing everything.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but the majority aren't noticing it yet. They're going, oh, this is it. The government will have to fix this. And while the government gives them a little band-aid here and a little pat on the ass over there and a little cuddle there and oh shit, by the time it goes full circle and there's nothing left for them to give because they won't have anything left, because you can't tax blood out of a stone. If people don't have it, you can't get it.
If everyone's working for the government and they're all taking more than they're putting in,
where's it going to come from?
Yes.
And that's when everybody's going to wake up and go, oh fuck,
but this is exactly
we're not going to have money for our mortgage because the government's not going to have any to pay all these millions, 25 million public servants, dole recipients, disabled people, whatever the fuck else. There's not going to be any money there to pay them with. And when that happens, that's when hyperinflation happens. Again, if you're not sure what that is, do a bit of homework. But that's where your money effectively becomes worthless. It's becoming worth less and less every year. Hyperinflation literally means $1 will buy you nothing. I think at the moment, at one stage, the highest denomination of money in Venezuela was 100 ruby, lira, whatever it was, note. And if you wanted to buy a hamburger, you needed 50 of the bastards.
Yeah,
it's
happened before, and it'll happen again.
Oh.
The fact of that idea of over-governance, this is one thing that came out across my desk as a councillor, and it came out Tuesday. And it's a media release. Now, that's not in Thomas's paper.
Yeah,
it might be in next week's.
Sounds like it needs to be in next week's.
New HR support project to strengthen workforce resilience across Temora and Bland.
Workforce resilience? Why is the workforce not resilient? There's a million of them. What's wrong?
New cross-shire initiative is underway to support small to medium businesses across Temora and Bland Shires to attract, retain and manage employees more effectively through improved access to human resource support, HR support. The project, jointly led by Temora and Bland Shire councils and funded through the Regional Drought Resilience Program, will explore practical HR support models and create tailored workforce solutions that reflect the unique needs of regional businesses. Now, this is the catch cry for the gravy trainers. Think Regional, that's the name of this business.
Of course.
A consultancy specialising in regional workforce engagement and HR innovation, and obviously they are, because they've engaged in their own engagement and HR innovation themselves.
Jesus Christ.
Have been engaged to deliver the project. Over the coming months, they will consult directly with local businesses, industry groups and employment stakeholders through workshops, surveys and one-on-one conversations. Now, here's a message from the Mayor. Our local businesses continue to face challenges in finding and keeping staff, navigating compliance and building long-term capability, said Temora Shire Rick Furman, OAM. This project gives us the chance to co-design a HR support model that is practical, accessible and truly reflective of what businesses in our communities need.
Giving me a twitch.
That is just so mothering.
It's all bullshit.
It's
maternalistic, paternalistic, over-parenting bullshit. Couple of things. One, in this country, they couldn't give me enough money to make me want to employ anybody. I envy anybody that's willing to tolerate the bullshit that goes along with employing people.
I'll give you some tips, though. In order to successfully employ people, you need to have productive work that gives them some sense of satisfaction on completion, some process that's relatively enjoyable, or at least they can see where they've been. They feel like they're moving forward.
Yeah.
You need to pay them properly.
Right.
You need to say thank you.
What?
Yes. You do have to thank them.
For what?
And you have to treat them like a human. And if put the tools around them they need to perform their task and then pretty much get out of the road.
Ah.
That's how HR works.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, get out of the road and let that person do their job.
Do they do the job?
Yes. Well,
all of them?
no.
Ah, right.
But they're the ones that don't stay.
Though they stay.
Hmm.
They stay.
No, this is the thing.
Now look, a good team member's worth their weight in gold, but good luck finding them.
But Temora Council have got 2 job ads in the paper today.
Well, that's why they're going to have workshops on how to get staff, because obviously are they real jobs or is this more bullshit?
No, these are actually, one of them.
Are they actual roles where somebody else has to do something, or is this just some, we want to pay somebody to peek through your windows with a camera?
No, these are proper jobs.
Yeah, right.
Team leader, grader operator.
Well,
that's a good job.
What are you going to do for that?
Drive a grader. And tell your mates how to drive graders.
Yeah, right, huh?
Temora Shire Council Waste Management Officer.
Cleaning up at the tip.
Pick up the bins.
Well, that sounds fair and reasonable. Somebody should do that.
Okay, so for your...
That sounds like roads and rubbish.
Yes.
2 things that I actually do think council could probably justify.
Proper jobs.
Look at that.
Now, for the Waste Management Officer, you have landfill site operations, assess loads, use software receipting system, apply fees and charges, general admin and record keeping, general maintenance of the site, supervision of the CRC, the Community Recycling Centre, a bit of drum muster stuff. So pretty much you are the tip.
Running the tip. You're the tip man or woman.
16 hours a week, $32.56 an hour.
Well, there you go. Look at that.
11.5% super, bit of PPE provided, great work environment with plenty of social interaction and professional development opportunities where you have got views of the sewage treatment works.
I don't know, great environment. You're at the fucking rubbish dump.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, hey, look, whatever. If it's paying well and it's a job, I can't imagine it's the hardest job in the world.
And social interactions. What do you got on? Grass clippings. Okay.
Up to the left. Have a good day, mate. Fantastic. Playing your phone.
Yeah.
Job ads are pretty funny. Have
that
you seen those?
I like that. That's creative.
Have you seen those couple of blokes that do the comedy on, like they get there and come up with LinkedIn profiles and stuff?
No.
And I'll find you some links. We'll talk about them next week because they're pretty funny. I can't remember what they're called. 2 blokes, but they're basically corporate. They take the piss out of the corporates. It's fantastic. It's excellently done.
Okay, now the grader. So the team leader grader operator supervises a small construction crew with a delivery focus within the engineering works function. It requires the operation of a road grader amongst other items of plant and equipment. So the position, you've got to operate your road grader, you've got to supervise a crew, you've got to implement traffic control, inspections and management, you've got to do some general labouring and plant operation, and you've got to do your paperwork. Now, old mate here, remuneration starting from $34.82 per hour. Now, I suppose that's not a casual position. The other one's a casual position. It doesn't pay much, really, does it?
No, in the scheme of things, 16 hours a week, that's you're not setting yourself up for life.
You get 25% leave loading on a 32.56. So you don't get holidays, you don't get sickies. In this one, you get holidays and sickies.
Yeah, right.
But for 32.56, you might as well divide that by 5.
Yeah.
And you can get back to the basic hourly rate. So $33, you're back to $6.60.
Yep.
By 4, 24, $26.40. $26.40 per hour. They're paying you to be the boss of the tip. And you're taking payments. Now, cash and EFTPOS collection.
Do they take Bitcoin?
Well, I suppose they could. It all depends on how this guy's running the show. I
I
think.
would imagine so. Yeah, it could be interesting, isn't it?
Are they going to supplement their wage?
No.
You're paying them the equivalent of $26.40. Now, what is the minimum wage today in Australia?
The minimum wage is zero.
No,
You can earn $0. Many of them.
look, there are rules around this.
I don't support them at all.
$24.10 is the minimum wage, and Samora Shire Council are offering a job with a degree of responsibility here for $26.40 equivalent. It's $2.30 over the minimum wage.
That's fair.
Oh, it's a kick in the nuts.
Oh, come on, mate. You just expect too much.
No. How's this person going to progress themselves?
That's entirely up to them. They've got 16 hours a day out there saying hello to people and turn left up there. And I'm imagining you could do a course, you could study something, you could run a 15th business while you're sitting there doing that shit, I imagine.
Okay, but let's just see what the top dog in the operation's getting in an hourly rate.
As in the general. Now, comparing the pair, that's a different sport altogether.
Well, no, we just want to see.
Because I obviously think that the general manager should be on about maybe $50 an hour tops and $40 an hour, 40 hours a week. Fuck off home, because you haven't got that much to do, Dollar.
Well,
anything that's expanding on that, you're just making shit up.
How many hours a week would the GM do?
Should be about 40, I'd reckon.
40. And how many weeks a year would the GM work?
Well,
48.
Yeah, I'm imagining the way the world's structured, there'd be, 6 weeks holiday or something if you're the GM?
Well, that's
other than the fact that your entire life's pretty well holiday.
There's 4. I've just got 4 in there.
Yeah.
So I've got 1,920 hours billable. 300K the package is worth ballpark.
Yeah.
Divided by 1920. Well, that gives an hourly rate of about $156.
It's fine.
So, old mate out at the tip has to work for about 5 hours.
Well,
long day.
That's a long day, yes.
Anyway, that's part of the biggest part of the issue I find in Australia is corporate CEO and executive pay has just lost all relationship to.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't care what the numbers are. The numbers are actually, in my opinion, pretty arbitrary, but they need to be somewhat comparable to the enterprise. You guys getting a pay rise while we're losing 1.8 million or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, look at the state of decay that Alan Joyce left Qantas in.
Yeah.
And he was pocketing something like $30 million a year or something outrageous like that.
Yeah, that's right.
And he absolutely gutted the
joint. Yeah, that's
and
right.
filled his boots with government incentives and sacked a heap of people in the meantime.
Yeah.
So Qantas was sacking people illegally whilst COVID was on and getting all the COVID.
Everybody who got sacked through COVID was sacked illegally, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Now, our grader operator, they're on a bit better wicket. But, even for your $34.82 an hour, you've got to have about 5 years experience driving a grader.
Oh, look, after $34, there's not a chance I'm babysitting a group of anything.
Safe work.
That's what that's what, for me, that's what would make me go.
You've got to have your white card.
I'll happily do the work. I'll happily.
You've got to direct people.
So, and it's not about the directing of people. I'm quite comfortable directing people. It's the being responsible for other grown adults. I fucking will not do it.
I'd be quite happy to do it, but you've got to pay me.
Well, I don't like the idea of being responsible for grown adults. You're a grown man. That's your job. Go and do it. Don't want to talk to you again. Thanks very much. Or woman, whatever the case may be. I no longer have any tendencies, inclinations whatsoever to employ boss. I don't mind leading people. I can comfortably lead. I just I'm not your boss. You're a grown up. Fucking do whatever you want to do. Don't get in my way.
Back to the precursor to those observations, though, is this HR advice that the council's giving all the other businesses in the
Oh yeah. Well, that's right. Pot kettle, not a clue.
Well, we all know that the biggest HR scandals in Australian history have been perpetrated by the large corporates. You know, Woolworths have got hundreds and thousands of lawyers at their disposal, and they're the ones who F it up.
But we also have the most complicated IR laws in the world.
And we've also got a Labor government.
Ridiculous circle. There's no difference between Liberal and Labor today. Both of them are calling for machete bans to stop these evil tools from getting up and slashing at people. Yeah. So nothing to do with the idiots who are actually wielding them. We're going to ban the machete.
Yeah,
dumb fucking humps. And the Liberal Party down there called for the same thing. We'd like to exacerbate the ban on machetes. So it doesn't matter which party's in, because they're the same bunch of dumb shits. And they have no bearing on life or reality or anything that they used to pretend to be.
So a long flat piece of metal,
yes,
capable of being wielded in a machete-like fashion.
No, look,
and we're going to run out of a lot of useful things if we go have long flat pieces of metal.
Yes, we are going to run out of very.
Our cars are going to be fairly flat on the ground because they won't have springs in them, and
can't have them. Very dangerous,
yeah.
And you won't be able to have,
it's just horseshit.
It is horseshit, but that's the world we're living in.
This nannering, this whole. Temora Shire Council have got their own HR problems and their own headaches. Stick to their own knitting.
Before paying some consultancy, what, 5, 10, 15, 50 grand, whatever it is, a ratepayer money that we can't afford.
Remember the conversation we had after the election where we went through Stewie Bond's list of things?
Yeah.
And one of the things I said was, get a government job or be a consultant to the government.
Oh.
Like, get on the gravy train, get as far up the front of the gravy train as you can, and drive your head into that trough.
I get it, and cerebrally, I go, that's what I should be doing.
Well,
I should be claiming everything known to me. I'd probably be eligible.
Get on the bus, get on that bus, and get up the front and get your head in the trough.
I can't do it. I can't look in the mirror and sleep good at night.
Start a consultancy.
I've got a million consultancies.
Get a cushy contract.
Can't do it.
But everything requires a consultant.
I know.
Consultants.
It hurts my feelings. I could quite easily do it, and I'm not bad at sales, so I reckon I could come up with a pretty attractive package to sell. So I can't imagine the local council here would want to employ me for anything. They'd probably be a little bit nervous.
I'm going to consult. I might get a job consulting to the consultants.
Well, I could put together a package that could convince people that this was a good idea. I have no doubt about it. And I sit there and I go, I just wouldn't be able to live myself. I know. I'm not real bright. I have these horrible things that I consider to be principles. And I do live and die on that hill, unfortunately.
I just know that when all the fat comes out of this goose,
there's going to be nothing left.
There's going to be nothing left, and all these consultants are going to starve.
Oh, look, and you know what? That's where I'm hoping that I'll have my little safety net build up, and I'll just be going, well, sorry, guys, my crew's all right. My job to look after my family. I ain't feeding yours.
You've got to work on your own health and well-being. You've got to work on those fundamental diet, exercise, sleep. Get that nailed first, then build up from that. We've got side businesses all going. I've had some good solid inquiry for my side businesses this week. You're always got
I've got stuff on the go everywhere. There's a million things happening.
And that's all part of that whole resilience thing. It allows you to have a downturn in one sector and
you still pick up in the other,
and also a lot of the skills cross over. For anyone who doesn't know, and it's not a plug per se, but I've got a small business I've established over the last couple of years where I do contract pest management, vertebrate pest control using firearms for corporate entities or primary producers or people who have got these issues that they need addressed in a certain way. Now, it's not a cheap exercise to establish into that field, but I got the renewal the other day for my workers' compensation. So I'm at the point now where I've got $20 million public liability cover and workers' compensation on that part of the business.
Yep.
That's progress. Inquiries are coming along quite well to that end. I'm investing in equipment. I'm practicing, working on my skills, and working on investing in some more equipment, more gear, transportation, elements like that.
Yep.
Just to grow and enhance that side of the business. Because it's so, like, if you want to talk about highly regulated spaces, then you're getting into some pretty highly regulated areas there.
Well and truly.
And because it is so highly regulated, to operate in that space, there's very few people who actually achieve those levels of accreditation.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm just amazed at the level of high levels of pest loads. Look, I went to Junee today, and I was working at a primary school on the edge of town.
Yep.
Not outside of town, but like it's in an established area of town. I came out of the yard to go and get some tools out of my unit about 4:15 in the afternoon, and here's a rabbit on the footpath.
Junee's got some wild rabbits everywhere. I deliver parcels into there quite regularly, and I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's diggings all through the
Yes.
schoolyard. There's rabbit droppings everywhere on the footpaths. And you just know that of an evening, it must be rabbit central.
Absolutely. We need to knock them over, load them into the fridges and freezers, and
they've got to have a
learn
use.
how to-
They've got to be a use for them. There's a lot of protein out there, but even in Timor at the moment, we've got huge populations of feral pigeons, and
Well, they taste all right too if you knock them over in the right way and cook them up.
There's areas on Hoskin Street in our main CBD where there's just bordering on an inch thick of pigeon feces.
Yep.
Just on the footpaths.
Yes.
It's got to be a public health issue. It's not good enough in that respect. You know, this is where people who've probably gone that extra mile to get that accreditation should be engaged to, by these government authorities to actually
solve some of those problems or assist in solving some of those problems.
I think it's part of the legislation that a landowner is responsible for the control of their
feral pests.
The feral pests on their property, and so there's anyway.
Pardon me.
Long story short, I've had some good solid inquiry in that space. I've got plenty of work in that field.
Yep.
My core business, I will call the signwriting business that I operate the core business. It's solid as at the moment. It's fantastic. It's going really well.
Yeah, good.
And I've got a sideline business where I do audio PA production for different things. And
you're a busy guy.
A little bit of a lull at the moment, but I've got about 3 jobs booked for September.
Yep.
So I've got a bit of gear to get organised.
Well, it's not exactly an entertainment mecca here in
look, if you want to work for nothing, you could work every night.
Yeah.
But, you can't pay the bills if you work for nothing.
No, you can't.
I'll help people out on occasion, but I don't like being used either.
No, fair's fair. That's right.
So, and when you know people are just taking the piss, well, you're quite entitled to say, look, I'm going to sit on the lounge tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I might hang out with my wife.
Yeah, I might have some me time.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it. But yeah, your sidelines?
Oh, fuck.
Flat out.
Busy. Yeah.
It gets a bit harder this time of year with the short days.
Yes.
Or it gets a bit dark.
Well, it tightens me up a little bit, the short days. I do like daylight saving. Still punching 15 to 20 cars a month.
But it's not even daylight saving per se. It's just that extra daylight.
It's just the extra time, yeah. The extra
daylight. It doesn't.
I can arguably,
as a self-employed individual, you can start whenever you like.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can't operate
I can't throw an extra 2 hours onto the evening, do
Yeah.
an extra 2 or 3 sprays,
Yeah.
houses or whatever.
Yeah.
The freight thing's still ticking away. So I've got one guy who's brilliant,
Yep.
real good. The other guy, I think he got locked up. If he didn't, probably should. Whatever that happens. It's that's busy. Still running vehicles around Wagga and from Temora to Wagga to Junee to Griffith and Leeton. So that's interesting, I guess. I spent Sunday out at Ardlethan pest control, so it keeps me pretty busy. Weekends plus kids sport in between.
Well, that's it. You've still got all your own maintenance and downtime and
my place needs a lot of love and maintenance, but just having the time to do it.
It's really important to get into systems, isn't it?
Well, yeah, my systems wake up by 4 and by be chasing my ass by 4:15. But no, there was a lot of stuff going on like that. I have a feeling that if it keeps going the way it's going, and we can get a couple of little wins along the way, that things land where they're supposed to land. 2 years time, I probably won't need to be physically active doing any of the in-betweens. It'll be other people doing that work, and no, they won't be employees. They'll be subcontractors because I'm not doing it.
Like Jim's mowing or Jim's dog wash or
I've got no interest in employing people. I don't want to be anybody's dad.
But you're quite happy to help people who are motivated,
get themselves up and running, and be involved in that sort of way. Yeah, for sure.
that's.
I've got to work with self-starters. I just can't function with people who have no initiative, no get up and go. I can't do people who just want to do my job and go home. I just can't be around.
Being there physically and doing nothing doesn't actually
achieve. And all it does is piss me off. We get a few like that in various roles that I've been involved in, and I know that within a couple of, if you first start out and you're a bit gun shy about, that's fine. But if you're trying to be proactive, I can live with it. If you're not a proactive person, if you're not having a bit of a crack, if you're not even just walking with a bit of purpose,
well, you've got to bring something to the
table.
Just
something, anything. I have very short. I just fuck. Even if you're the nicest person in the world, just don't come near me. I can't put up with it. I can't stand watching people mope around. I can't stand watching people walk. Just walking slowly annoys me.
And putting a load, it's bringing the team down.
Yeah. And just, I'd rather you not come to work. I'll do your load and I'll do your work and I'll run light on just so long as I don't have to watch you be shit.
Yeah.
And people go, that's so harsh or whatever, but they're a really nice person. In my working life, I don't fucking care how nice you are. I don't care.
I think that's one of the biggest problems that Australia does face at the moment. We are really rapidly approaching this entitled situation where people don't really measure their productivity. They seem to be taking more out than they're putting in.
Yeah.
That's
what it is. And, and there are some super nice people that think that that's just how it is.
Yeah. And I'm guilty because I'm so hardcore in that space and I'm so used to it. Like I've been self-employed since 1990.
Yep. So but you've earned your way along.
But 35 years.
Yeah.
So I am so disconnected from the tit, from the gravy train, that it is just second nature for me. And
when you got to get up and go and do stuff, you get up and go and do stuff. And
yes, that's it. How are we going to get this stuff done today? Because we need to get paid.
And I sat there. Look, there was a bit of a we'll call it a challenge in one of my roles the other day, where a fellow had been with us for a few months, and on his departure, had a bit of a a big crybaby about the fact that I was running my own businesses while doing this there and doing this there, and that's just not acceptable. And the long and the short of it comes down to, in an hour I'm getting more done than you're getting done all day. So it doesn't fucking matter. Nobody's going to ask me or get the shits with me doing A, B, C. I'm not blowing my own horn, but I'm in early every day. I'm going flat sticker every day. If I have any sort of not that I don't make mistakes, I probably make more mistakes than most, just at a higher frequency and getting more other shit done at the same time. So I kind of, yes, I will do my other shit potentially while I'm aligned with this portion of my life, but I'll also do part of that portion of my life when I'm at home, or when I'm at weekends, or so it's just sort of it's all encompassing. It's a case of I don't clock in and clock out going, I'm clocking on and I'm clocking out. Don't talk to me outside of those hours. It's okay. The business portion of my life means that if the phone rings about car sales at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, if I'm awake, I'll answer that phone, or I will respond to that lead. So somebody's made an inquiry on it happened this Sunday. Oh, how you going? Oh, I didn't expect to hear from anybody on a Sunday. Well, I just saw it, and I figure you're obviously looking now. How can I help? Oh, look, I'd really like to buy the following. Not a problem. I'll take your deposit down. We'll get it all sorted. Should get it delivered this week from Sunday. Now, a lot of other guys, particularly the ones who whinge about how I operate, won't do that.
No, they go in Monday.
They go in on Monday
and after their third coffee and they've read the paper.
By that Monday, the person who was shopping on Sunday has got in contact with some prick like me and gone, I've actually already bought the car. Sorry, you're too late. And then it's sort of the same with other things. So when I do stuff like that,
but you've also, and this is a personal thing, but it'd work in the same for you with your employer, or people you work with. Today, I had to travel 60 k's to go and visit a client. But then I made it into a run. Then I dropped off some product at another client's. Then I went up and did an install at another job. Then I went and did an inspection.
Just so happens I'll be in the neighbourhood. Do you mind if I call through and do X, Y, and Z while I'm coming through?
I could have spent 8 hours driving and hundreds of dollars on fuel, or 2 hours driving and a quarter of that amount on fuel and still achieve the same outcome. And that's the efficiencies that you strive for when you're motivated and you're goal focused.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the goal is to make profit.
Yes.
And I
have numbers in my head for every little enterprise that I would like to hit. I have targets that may not be dollar goals. Some are volume goals.
You've got to bring some value to your employer for them to feel comfortable. Like, it's pretty easy in my caper to measure productivity because I look at the pile at the end of the week that's been produced by an individual and you add it up and you go, wow, I'm quite happy to pay you.
You've done all this.
If I subtract the materials and the shop costs off what you've produced, you're still well in credit. Thanks very much. Would you please come again next week?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. And there's times like that where it's wonderful and you work with people like that. And then you get other people who sort of sit there and they're kicking the can magically waiting for stuff to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, they get frustrated and get cranky. And you go, you could change a lot of this stuff. This is a you problem. This is a you challenge. This goes out to an awful lot of people who will be watching. Innocent bystander. My get up and go got up and went. Fair call. Bloody oath, it does happen. And like, it's not a piss in my pocket or your pocket or whatever, but we're wired that way.
Oh, look,
there's a certain amount of it that's genetic.
But
I couldn't stop if I wanted to.
If you want to have a little bit of self-determination, a little bit of freedom and the ability to chart your own course to some extent, you have to be a grown-up and take responsibility for your own actions and build that around. You can't have it. It's like,
you can't have it both ways.
The big one when you've got teenage kids is the kids want the freedom. They just don't want to accept
the responsibility. That's right.
And in order to have the freedom that we enjoy as adults now,
I'm in a position now where I look at everything I got going on and I go, okay, I've got probably enough going on for 2 people, but I need 3 to make it work. I've got to make the 3 work, I've got to add a little bit more work. and then hopefully be able to sort of extract myself back in certain areas and try to. That's the little navigation that I'm playing with at the moment.
Oh, it's just hard to get that momentum, get the machine to run on its own. You know, you're having to.
I have to prop up the machine, push the machine, and then when something goes wrong with the machine, I have to yell at the idiot who broke the machine.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. But again, if I get it right, and for some reason, and it might sound harsh or whatever, but if for some reason the world blew up tomorrow and there was no more freight, for argument's sake, I could lose that portion of my income. Say, oh mate, look, terribly sorry, mate, I'm out of my control. But I would still have two other streams of income that arguably I could focus more energy, time, and expand on those if need be. Or I could, cut one down and expand on that one. Or if one really goes a bit ballistic, then you go, okay, well,
it's always been a bit like the mixed farming enterprise that exists around here, where you're never going to be winning on every front, but you're never going to be losing on every front either.
Yeah.
So,
and if the sheep aren't producing wool or the crops don't come out, you've still got something to sell if you need to.
Yeah.
But when I was 19, I lost a job because I made the other workers look bad. I hated taking a 1 hour lunch break. Yeah, mate, I'm exactly. If I go for lunch, I ducked out today for 40 minutes and went and watched the Tamora High kids play touch football because Ryder was playing in Wagga.
You're allowed to.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm going to duck out for 40 minutes. They don't even question it because they know that when you're there, you're putting all in. You're on the line. You're game on.
If you hadn't sold a car for 3 months
and you're pulling that shit, that's right.
They'd say probably not.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Or they'd probably say, yeah, don't come back.
Yeah, well, that's
happy afternoon on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think my averages are pretty good at the moment.
I think the world
responds to performance a little bit.
Well, I think
I don't get special treatment because they like me.
No.
It's not they're going, oh, he's so sweet and nice.
No.
They go, this some bitch will sell a car on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Or Christmas Day he'll field calls. It's funny how it works.
No.
But anyway, we're just coming up on that 2 hour mark. And here's the other thing I've worked out with the little tool that I have here. I can't do the reels if we go over 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yes, it won't allow. So I couldn't do it with the Andrew Thaler interview because it was too long. So on that basis, we better wind it up so we can do the reels for all of our little rollouts.
For anyone out there who needs HR advice, apparently it's coming down the pipeline. And all those people who are sitting there sucking their thumb and want the council to come and hold their hand, help is on the way.
Help's on the way. I feel so much.
Cavalry.
I feel so much better. Yeah. Everybody who likes the show, share the show, subscribe to the show, the YouTubes, all that shit. Share it, like it, send it out if you're not afraid of it. Yeah, do all that sort of stuff. We do appreciate you guys all tuning in, and obviously we'll see you again next Thursday. Follow us both on our, all of our social profiles. It's good fun.
See ya.